No, we can't how we get excited?
I don't know. Chris said hopefully he'll get an answer by the end of today to confirm. Hey folks, welcome back. We are back into planning update.
Episode 3?
Episode 3. It's been a rather frantic few months of sharing this, but most of this happened last year, so it's not live. So we do know a little bit more than you now, thankfully. So today we're going to share with you the most progress we've made so far.
But to recap, if you haven't, or it was a while since we did our last one, we're on planning application number 4. We have just changed our planning consultant, so it's a new person who's driving us.
And quite a new design.
Yeah.
Really.
We had to make it significantly different with this application, didn't we?
There's a chance that if you keep resubmitting the same thing again and again, like a loony, then they can just not accept they might just not even accept the application. So main changes on this design, we had to address the 3 things that they had a problem with. One was the number of kind of openings that we put in, new windows. But most of them we tried to put in where existing openings are.
We've added a few extra.
Like on the screen now, it looks like that's a nice long opening. All of our windows sit within that. You can see it's lighter on the screen. But really, as far as planning goes, that's a wall.
Still a wall.
So although we were putting them in there, we had to reduce the number that we were putting in there. And second was the roof. We've got an intact, structurally sound roof, but we wanted to change it. It makes sense to change it. It's an asbestos roof, and if we were going for a like-for-like finish, but in steel or a different roof sheet, then
we could insulate.
We can insulate easier, and obviously we'd much rather not have an asbestos roof. And finally, the patio area, which was always a little bit contentious, which is where we've kind of taken out one section of the wall in that corner, but left the roof over it. We thought we'd solved that, and that we got to a point where the council were happy, but we decided we'd just rule it out, so we got rid of it. And actually, although it wasn't a reason for refusal, we took out the whole upstairs. The whole mezzanine, which covered about half of the building. Just
to make it a bit drastically different.
Yeah.
And so that if they, for some reason, thought that was too much work, It
just made it as super simple. We did show a little bit of the details in the last video, but really the design was far from what we wanted to build, but we wanted to get something. And we basically revisited the whole design and said, let's look at it. This as far as what's the most likely thing to get over the line. So we ended up with kind of bedrooms on this side with really small windows facing the only view. All the living space here with a slightly lowered ceiling but really high vaulted ceiling, a bit like you're living in a B&Q warehouse. And then, yes, there's trees out that way, but not a view or of any form. So
not ideal.
It was really stripped back, but we were like, let's get something over the line, or at least try. Unfortunately, we weren't prepared enough to have a camera with us on the day, but I did have my phone on me. So this is the moment I got the call from our planning consultant. Guess who's recommended it for approval?
Recommended.
Either by the end of today or Monday. But we're not out of the woods yet.
Oh, why?
Well, because although it's been recommended for approval.
Okay.
But
there's no,
he said,
there's no reason
more than likely
to object. No, we can't how we get excited?
I don't know. Chris said hopefully he'll get an answer by the end of today to confirm, so you can party at the weekend.
We will party at the weekend. Oh.
And then we won't be kicked out of here. Well, wait till we actually see it on the website.
We got it! High pitch screaming.
At last we got somewhere, so
we can legally live on our land, can't we?
We can, and well,
that was the biggest.
As long as we don't not start work, but it's been not fun getting to this point, and I appreciate all the input that everyone's put in over the past few videos. We weren't like anti planning, in as much as we were just trying to work with them all the time. The frustrating bit, the bit that was getting to us, is the just lack of communication and lack of willingness for them to just try and negotiate or give us any and I understand that's all to do with staffing and finances and resources and all that stuff, but I can't help but feel that it just didn't make a lot of sense. There's a lot of blanket rules in planning, and it just anyway, what we do know is that whatever happens now, we can live here somehow.
Yeah,
You know, we could just build what we've had approved. But
we don't want to do that.
let's look at what actually did it take to get over the line. Well, perseverance was the main thing, and you know, annoying amount of funds that we've had to put into all these applications and designs and stuff. The main things we changed, like we said, were the windows, the openings, and the roof. In actual fact, the openings were not reduced, maybe by 5%. There wasn't really much change in that, so it's more to do with getting rid of the patio area. Another reason for the last refusal was all the boarding down the side. They said it wasn't weatherproof and it couldn't be weatherproofed. This time round, we just put a sentence in about how we would keep those boards, but we would build the rain screen behind them, and they didn't even bring it up. So that's really frustrating, because what was rejected last time, this time not even brought into the conversation. So really, all I can boil it down to is, yes, we lost the patio, but the roof.
It could have been the patio, but yeah.
But yeah, so the main big change that we did is said, okay, we'll keep our big 60-year-old asbestos roof and convert our family home below it. And that was enough for them to say yes.
We think.
Well, you know, like, what else? That's basically the corner we were backed into. It's a case of...
Or it was our brilliant planning consultant who just knew how to phrase things and how to put
I mean,
it
the application
in.
might have read differently, but it was still the same planning officer, still the same sort of background of the site and everything like that. So it really, we were trying to address those issues. And I think Chris, our consultant, said, if we're going to do this one, let's make it so if they did refuse it because they just have the hump, we know that it would get through an appeal. Because this could have gone to an appeal and it would have been astonishing if it had been refused. Anyway, so long story short, we're really, really happy because we know now for certain something's going to happen next year.
Something's going to happen. And we can live here
in a, you know, glorified cowshed. Or
how stressed we were until we relaxed and we actually went to a wedding, didn't we? And we sat on the train the whole way there.
Yeah, that evening we partied hard. It's good.
And it was quite nice because we were actually all with your family and everything, so it all worked out.
I think when we announced it in the restaurant to the family, because they've had to be dragged through it all as well, they thought a fourth child was on the books. Thankfully, it was planning.
Next year's plan.
Anyway, right, change the plan again, change the design again. Right, so where are we? So we're at a point where we can build something now. It's not exactly what we want to build, but you know, we've got an approval.
Yes.
So we've got a couple of options. One is that we go back and look at our third option, which was our third application, which got refused.
Which was beautiful, actually, really good.
It was still quite conservative, but it had the patio, it had an upstairs, had the views on this side, and we would have been happy. If they'd approved that, we would have probably built it.
Because we didn't want to go to planning ever again.
No. So we've got that option, and that's, I think, something we're going to explore.
Because we've only got a short time frame to do that within, and because obviously this is our fourth one, we've wasted a bit of time there as well. So we need to make
it does take
decision.
a long time. An appeal is like, I think, 8 months in our area or something like that. So that's just we're gonna have to sit that out.
Or we could put in full planning.
We could.
I quite like to do anyway because it means we can tweak things.
Yeah.
We can go a little bit. Like, not crazy.
There's things we can do, like we can change the size of the garden a bit. We can
put
maybe
solar
include
panels on.
Yeah, we couldn't do solar panels because that made the building taller. So simple things like that we can do, and there's a little bit more back and forward with the council on a full app. So hopefully we'll be able to work with them.
They take into account like the whole picture too. If we're going to add in a bigger garden, then that would increase our biodiversity, and they'd appreciate that.
Because what's just concrete now? You know, anything we put there is made better.
We could change the second dwelling into an annex, you know, or put in, you know, I don't know.
So
more lighting, more windows.
Yeah, I think it would still be a barn conversion under the full application. We're never going to get a replacement dwelling here, so that's fine. We never really expected that to happen. But a full application, there's lots of benefits. But one benefit is, like Joe said, we can make more changes, but also, if we use up Class Q, we lose some of our permitted development rights for the farm. So I think if we can go do a full app, then it makes sense to. So in summary, thank you for
your patience
seeing us through this bit. And now you know where we are. So we are still a few months behind, or the videos we're playing catch up. We didn't want to start sharing this all live, of course, because it was just too much going on, let alone kind of having input from videos and all that sort of stuff. So we're definitely building next year. We're doing our dream family home.
I think you said that enough now. We're going to build next year.
I know, I'm
But
just
next
trying
year, we're
to
gonna
reassure
build.
them to stick around. It's not all chat. Yeah, so there's still plenty to get on with in the next few weeks and months. We've been doing fencing and gates, and also you might have noticed inside,
There was space.
it's ready for a boogie, because we have a bit of a boogie in there in a couple of weeks' time, bit of a family party. So the cow railings, which was just an internal fitting, all the feed barriers down the middle, I cut them out whilst you were away last week. So that's going to be a video in the next week or so. A bit of demolition day for me, and I'm still feeling it. That sledgehammer destroyed me. Well, you heard it here first. We got so excited, then we didn't even do an outro. But hopefully now you are going to be able to get on board a little bit with what's going on with the build, because this is going to be a labour of love for the next couple of years. And I do acknowledge that some of you may wonder just how this will ever become a nice family home, or home and a half. But we've got some really unique ways of approaching this. And I hope that you'll be pleasantly surprised. In one of the planning videos, when we were talking about the original design, someone used a really appropriate way of describing the build, and that is that it's a sleeper house or a sleeper barn conversion. You know, when you have a really old tatty car and everyone just thinks it's going to chug along like a tank, like my Volvo, and then it rockets off at the traffic lights because it's all what's under the hood that matters. Well, that's kind of how we see this building. We know we're going to have some limitations with what we can change on the outside, whether it's materials, whether it's its shape, its agricultural appearance, but they can't have any say on what we do on the inside. So if we're going to start bringing in some oak framing in here, there'll be open plan spaces, snugs, and we can really make an amazing house in here, but it's still going to be quite simple architecturally because the form of the building has to remain the same. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and hopefully we can get a lot of people involved in this, whether that's practically or online, doing more stuff live or more videos. We're hoping to get a bit more production as far as people on helping with the filming and editing, just so we can kind of keep the momentum going. I'd love to just be able to share more content, but obviously there's only two of us. So we'll try and somehow put a team together in some way, shape or another, and be able to share this whole thing with you. Another interesting point we forgot to mention is if we build under Class Q, which is the approval which we've had under permitted development, we have to have finished the whole conversion within 3 years and had it signed off. If it's a full application, we just have to start it within 3 years. It's just then down to our own timescales. So to start with, we thought, great, Class Q. Well, that means we have to get it done, and it's not going to drag on like all of our other projects. However, I think we're not going to have the funds to just throw at this to make it an 18-month build or something like that. It's going to be more of a slow and steady, all hands on deck type project. So a full app would just take the pressure off a little bit. But, we'll see. We'll see how that decision making goes. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. But we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.